Hey everybody, what's going on? Colin here. I've wanted to try something a little bit different for a long time now, and I'm just gonna go for it. One of my biggest influencers in life is the hilarious Bill Burr, and one of the best things about him is his podcast is super unfiltered. He rambles all the time, goes on tangents. It's just super funny, super insightful, and really one of the most enjoyable experiences. But what's most powerful about the podcast for me is that I learned so much about Bill, and I feel like I know more about Bill from that than any of his stand up. And it's so cool to be able to get to know people that you look up to like that. So I wanted to do something that was a little bit more unfiltered like that. And I already have a podcast. It's pretty niche podcast leadership. We don't really stray too far from that in any episode, and that's what I want to keep it as. So I thought what I could do as an addition and to get to know you a little bit more, the people who follow me, who follow the Talent 409 Leadership Academy, and for me to have a little bit of fun as well, is just do these videos. They're not going to be structured really in any way. I'm not going to plan out when I'm going to release them. They're going to be a little bit more spontaneous and just a little bit more off the cuff. I mean, you could see I just got my t-shirt on, my Aaron Judge hat. Like, it's just me. I just want to be here and have conversations. And this isn't just a pandemic thing. This is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and it just makes sense to start now and hopefully be able to continue to do this for a long time. So these videos are going to be exclusive on YouTube. I'm going to share them on my Twitter and Instagram feeds, so you will be able to find them there, but they'll be on the YouTube channel for the full video because they are going to run a little bit longer than what those social platforms allot for. But I think that this is going to be a lot of fun, and I think you're going to get to see me in a whole new light, and I'm actually going to have a little bit fun with the title of these videos and call it Hangin with JFK. You can see my buddy JFK hanging back there. He gives me a lot of insight and wisdom. No, I'm just kidding. He's not real. It's a fat head. But I love JFK for people who don't know that. And I'm fascinated by everything, including his assassination. I read, watch, listen to pretty much anything that has to do with the Kennedys, especially John and Bobby. But this is going to be called Hanging with the Kennedys. Hanging with JFK specifically, I guess, is what it's technically going to be called. And to give us a few different topics to start today, I think I wanted to start with politics. JFK was a politician, he was a president, and as a person who doesn't have very strong feelings towards our current president, for more reasons than they are political, I just think he's a terrible person and a terrible leader. I was really pleased yesterday that former President Barack Obama finally endorsed the presumptive nominee for the Democratic election this year, and that is going to be Joe Biden. And I think that Obama backing Biden is a real shot in the arm. A lot of good can come from that. I don't really see any negative side effects with Obama backing Biden, who was his vice president all 8 years while Obama was in office. So I think that is a really good thing for Biden's candidacy and his opportunity to defeat Trump in the November elections, should they still be held in November, although I haven't really heard any signs of that particular part of the equation changing due to the pandemic. But I really do think that while Biden probably isn't my first choice for president, I think that anybody, well, not anybody, because I don't know how much better Mike Pence would be, but even Mike Pence would be better than having Donald Trump as our president right now. So this isn't really a political statement by any means. Like I said, I just think Donald Trump is a goon. Like, he's not a good person. He's never been a good person. He has never evolved. One of the funniest things, and I tell my wife about this all the time, is that he was really good friends with George Steinbrenner. And George Steinbrenner actually used to run the Yankees a lot like what Donald Trump runs the White House now. And I actually make a joke and a reference to that in my book, Culture of Excellence, which is going to be coming out here in the near future. But the fundamental difference between Trump and Steinbrenner is the fact that Trump is our president and the leader of the free nation, United States of America, while George Steinbrenner was the owner and leader of a Major League Baseball team. So that's a huge fundamental difference. On top of that, and another thing, and without spoiling too much about the book, but to give you a little backstory into Steinbrenner, the leader, he evolved. He was very much like Trump is now when he was first an owner and first getting acclimated to everything. But as he got a little bit older and a little bit wiser, he really did evolve into a much better leader, and a lot of that is what we remember Steinbrenner for today. Trump hasn't done any of that evolving. He's the same goon that he was back in 1990, the same goon that he was on The Apprentice, the same goon that calls people out, degrades them, says all these terrible things. I really don't understand it. I've never understood how he even got a nomination in the first place for president, and it's just, oh man, if we really have to spend another 4 years with Trump, I don't know. I really have become speechless to the way that he handles and conducts himself. He's always blaming other people. Again, last night he had another meltdown during his presser for the pandemic, and it just seems like every day there's just more and more of a total lack of responsibility and accountability that comes not from the White House per se, but for Trump specifically. Speaking of George Steinbrenner, yesterday I was sad to learn that George's oldest son, Hank Steinbrenner, passed away at the young age of 63. They said that it wasn't really related, or wasn't related at all to COVID. He had been battling an illness for quite a while. I know he was a smoker, so I wonder if that had something to do with it. But Hank Steinbrenner was co-owner of the Yankees, although he was much more behind the scenes than his brother Hale, who is the one that you see at all the press conferences, the one that represents the Yankees at the winter meetings, the owner meetings, during the off season. And Hank was one of those people that was very much like George. He was very much off the cuff, would just talk and say things. And I guess I read something that the difference between him and George was that George knew how to deal with the pressure and deal with the responses that came from the media. If you're going to be loud and brash, someone like Trump, someone like Steinbrenner used to be, you have to be able to deal with the consequences. And Hank Steinbrenner apparently wasn't really interested in doing that. So while he was a front runner to actually be the face of the franchise when George Steinbrenner's health began to deteriorate, it was quick that the whole family, including George's late wife, decided that Hale was actually the one who is better positioned to take on this role. And I read something really funny that you would need a DNA test to prove that Hale was George Steinbrenner's kid, but nonetheless, pretty sad that Hank's gone so quickly. His mom, the wife of George Steinbrenner, passed away a couple years ago, and then obviously George passed away in 2010, so a lot of changes with that family, and I hope it doesn't really put pressure on Hale to think about selling the team or something like that. Like, I would hate for that to be a domino effect, because I don't know how much of having Hank around was really something important to Hale and important to the Steinbrenners to stay involved in baseball. But I guess that remains to be seen, and we'll probably know more about that over the course of the next few months or the next year, however things play out. But I love Hale Steinbrenner, and I love the Steinbrenners in general for the Yankees, so my hope is that they get to stick around, and they want to stick around and still be a part of this great franchise. A lot of other things going on. I'm super excited. A lot in my room, and I can show you all this a little bit. So I have a lot of different memorabilia from different sport icons, different teams that I like, and I am super excited. On the way right now is a poster I made of Julie Ertz, who's probably my favorite female athlete. Julie is awesome. She's so cool, and I found this badass picture of her online and was able to put something together on Vistaprint with her name on it, put it into a poster. So I'll post a picture once I get that and I put it up on the wall, but I'm super excited to get that to add to the collection with most of the sports memorabilia, though of course JFK, and there's a few musicians and different influencers as well from my life around here. But that just gets me thinking too about how much I miss sports. I miss talking about them. I miss talking crap about them. I miss the sad and happy feelings that you get from sports. And I've watched quite a few old games, and it's cool to reminisce, but I even miss being able to go on Twitter and just see an update from my favorite team or something blowing up in one of my favorite leagues. Like, none of that is happening right now. Like, Twitter is totally different now than it was a month ago, and that's super sad and super scary even a little bit in some regards. So I'm hoping sports is going to come back soon because I love it. It's a huge part of my life and something that brings me a lot of joy. So that is something I really hope to see here in the near future. But I think that's going to cut it. Talked for about 11 and a half, 12 minutes here on the initial video of hanging with my buddy JFK. And I'd love to hear from any of you who get to watch and listen to this. You want to send me questions, send me comments. Do you like this? Do you have any thoughts on my political views on Trump, on anything that I talked about throughout these conversations? That's what this is. I want it to just be an open dialogue, but I will provide some of the content and some of the fillers to maybe get the conversation started, but I want to be able to interact and be a little bit more unfiltered and off the cuff myself with my interactions to people that I follow along with on social media or just in my personal life, professional life, wherever it is. So I'm super excited about this, and we'll have a lot of fun with these different videos. But until next time, JFK says goodbye. We'll catch you later.